All right, everyone. Let's start today's Tech Talk. Uh, Today, we have very special guest, Anil Batra, with us, who is a GA4 expert. And I'm Jyot Patel, your host for today's webinar. I'm the head of product at Tagmate. We chose six GA4 features for experts, a very specific topic which is very closer to my heart, and I think Anil can also relate to it because we have been both into uh, Google Analytics, marketing analytics as an industry for a very long period of time. And this is a very perfect moment that we have seen the sunset of universal analytics, and a lot of clients, a lot of brands are moving from older version of universal analytics to the newer version of Google Analytics, which is GA4. And during these times, it is very important for us as a community to learn more about new features and portray us as an expert and become an expert and help those brands realize their goals. So let me begin today's TED Talk. It is our sixth episode. Let me introduce Anil before we go into the six GA4 features. So Anil, I hope you can hear us and everyone can see Anil as well. If Yeah, so let me introduce Anil. Anil has 17 plus years of experience in data analytics and marketing technology. He has successfully built high performance digital marketing analytics and insight teams and played a key role in driving growth for Fortune 50 clients. He has told over 60,000, yes, 60,000 students in 152 plus countries. So that's really huge, and I think it deserves a clap from me and everybody else. He regularly teaches at different universities, organizations, conferences, and online. And with Optizent, which Anil manages, Anil also runs a huge Facebook group with over 32,000 active members centered around Google Analytics, Tag Manager, Optimize and Data Studio. Very warm welcome to you, Anil, for this webinar. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this in the first place itself.
Thank you, Joe. Yeah. Pleasure to be here.
Same here. All right, going to a little bit about me. So I am the head of products at Tagmate, which is a one-stop solution for tagging needs for the clients, part of Tatvik Analytics. I have like 10 plus years of marketing analytics experience, having worked with a lot of agencies and brands in APAC region. And I love web analytics and mobile analytics in special. As a professional, I love exploring a lot of new technologies, revolving analytics, tag management, and train a lot of clients to grow their teams and make an impact on the business. Yep. So with this, I think I will not take a lot of time. Let's quickly begin and go into the six lesser known features. I'll hand over the stage to Anil, and Anil, over to you.
Okay, cool. So what I'm going to do is share my screen here so that we all can see what I'm going to be talking about. And it's always a challenge for me to figure out how different tools work. So let's see. Here it is. All right. You guys can see my screen, right?
Yep, it's loading.
So we're ready to dive in as it loads for different people. Let me know if you have any questions, any concerns. We'll be answering questions later. I'm okay with taking questions as long as my moderator says it's okay, but while I'm presenting this. But let's go about these six features that you should be using, that we use on regular basis for our clients, while we're setting these things up for our clients or investigating and making data-driven decisions. One of the features that's lesser known is audience trigger. Now, I'm going to be showing you six. I'm pretty sure you might have heard one or two. Everybody is at a different stage of their learning, or maybe three, but I'm pretty sure you'll walk away with at least one or two that you do not know. Everybody. Some will walk away with six that they did not know. There are a lot more features than just these 6, but we had to cut it down to 6 so that you guys can see what these are. One is the audience trigger. Everybody familiar with audience, right? You know how to create audiences. Audiences is a group of users that share common attributes. They could be user properties, could be events that they have, and those things group them. In those who are familiar with Universal Analytics, you must be familiar with segments. Segments are a way to group users. In Google Analytics 4, there are 3 things that look like segments. One is comparison. There is which is available in your standard reports. Then there is audience, which resides in all over the place, and then there is segment, which resides in Explore. They kind of look the same. I've written a blog post on the differences in these 3. Audiences are what you would call in previous version as segments. That's how I compare them. You can use them in your standard reports. You can use them in your Explore reports. When you create audience, this group, anytime a user meets the criteria for them to be put in that group, then you can trigger, that's the audience trigger, you can trigger an event. Using that, you can know how you are progressing. Let's say if you want to create an audience of all those people who have downloaded a particular white paper. In that scenario, you'll create an audience group of all those who have downloaded a white paper. So you go through the audience creation step. And then you can also trigger an event that shows you how you're progressing towards having more people download these white paper or not. White paper, if that becomes your goal. So this is best suited for digital marketers, e-commerce businesses, app developers, and content creators. They can go and identify the audience that makes sense to them and then create a trigger to fire an event. All audience trigger does is creates an event and fires and sends that information. So you can do trending on that. So let me show you. I'm going to use this demo that has been set up. If this becomes a little bit odd to manage, then just let me know. Oh, it opened up a new screen. Can you guys still see my screen?
Yes, we can see the demo screen.
Demo screen. Okay. So in the demo screen, you go to the admin section. And in the admin section, go and find audience. When you click on audience, this is where you create the audience. So click on create a new audience. Click on create a custom audience. You can also start from an audience that's already, there is an audience template that you can use. On this audience screen, you add your conditions to create an audience. So I haven't put this feature as one of the lesser known features because audience, everybody should know. If you do not know, then that's an additional feature that'll allow you to make sense of your data, let you get deeper into your audience, your data. So you pick your condition and then you add a filter and then type in. So here we are saying is match the page when it exactly matches a slash. That means you're going to the home page. And once that condition is done, you will notice there is a summary right here. And once summary shows you how many of your users fit that criteria. So as you add more conditions, you will be able to see how your audience group is. These many people had these many users had homepage in their visit. So you go ahead and give your audience a name. And this is an auto demo, so it's typing on its own. And once you're done, you can go ahead and give your any appropriate description that you want. As it's typing, let's see. I'll talk about the other stuff here. This is where you have the audience trigger. So once that's done, you can trigger a particular event at this time. So if a user comes to your site, goes to the home page, they'll fall into this audience segment. In addition to that, you can trigger an event saying, this is a user that that was added. So there is one user who fit this criteria. Next user comes in, they fit that criteria. It's great for trending. So go ahead and click create new, type in your event name, and that's the event you'll start to see in your reports. You can also log an additional event when a membership refreshes. What that means is if a user goes back again and again, remember the audience, as you can see right here, membership duration is 30 days by default. That means if I go to a homepage and do not go to the homepage for next 29 days, I'll still be in this audience segment or audience group. However, if I go back, let's say after 15 days to the homepage, now my membership is extended for another 30 days. So every time I go back to home, I will be refreshed and put back in that audience. That's what this checkbox does. So go ahead and check on it and click on save. Once you're done, go ahead and save it. Now your audience trigger is ready. It'll start to fire that event. Okay, so that's feature number 1. By using this audience, as I've been saying, audience and audience trigger, you can do enhanced segmentation. You can use it for personalized marketing. You know exactly what these audience did. You can set the criteria and do personalized marketing. You can improve conversion rate. You also get real-time insights. So you can see your audience coming in your real-time reports. Good for conversion tracking or goal tracking. You have an event, you can mark that as a conversion. Now you know how many audience. So let's say if one of your objective is to grow your leads, then you can have any activity that qualifies a user as a lead. You can create that as an audience, then create an event and track that as a conversion. I'm assuming everybody has some understanding of GA4 and have gone through it. If you haven't gone through GA4 and want to learn step by step from beginning, or even if you have some understanding or want to take it to the next level, then I'm going to be sharing a link for the course that I have on GA4. Everything is around data-driven insights. So purpose of analytics is not to just like report on stuff. It is to drive those insights that can help your business. And that's what you're doing with Audience Trigger. There is a lot. Creating stuff in GA4 is easy, not difficult. Anybody can do it. It's like click here, press here. Some of these features are hidden. But where you need to start thinking is, what insights am I going to get from this? What am I learning? What are the objectives of my stakeholders or my organization? And that's where the most of the time should be spent thinking about that. I have a program where I teach people how to become digital analysts, implementation analysts. And we spend a lot of time thinking rather than doing, and doing comes later. Then it becomes very, very easy to do stuff when you already have a well-built plan. And that's what this is. Data-driven insights is what you should be focusing on, not randomly creating audience and audience triggers. Next lesser known feature is library. I'm surprised at how many people miss this feature. It's right within that first reporting interface, but a lot of people, somebody told me like the person said, I'm there at least 5-6 times in a day, spend a lot of time, and I never knew there is a library feature that existed. Library feature in GA4 allows you to build detail and overview reports, and you can customize. It's a central place for you to look at what all reports exist in your system, and you can organize them. So you can take and create custom reports. You can put them there. Whether you want to replicate Universal Analytics reports or build your own and customize, everything is there. Again, digital analysts should definitely be using it. Marketing teams, app developers, business owners, they can customize, or they can have a customized view based on their needs and requirements. So let's take a look at the demo of this. If this demo becomes an issue, please comment so one of the organizers can let me know that it's becoming an issue, because it's little, there is a delay here. I'll go into the real reports and show you all this. So click on reports, and then here you'll see there is a library. All these reports are organized what we call as collections. You'll see that in library. Underneath the collections are the topics, and under these topics are the reports. So that's how all your navigation is organized. So click on library. And here is your library feature that allows you to see all the reports organized in one place. You can customize the experience, etc. So all your reports are right here. On top are your collections. These are all your collections right here. Generate leads, drive online sales, raise brand awareness. That's one collection of business objective. And there is another collection of life cycle. There is another collection of search console. So you can see all these mapped to these here. When clicking on these will actually take you inside these folders and show you the reports that are there. When you sign up for GA4, GA4 asks you a few questions. One of the questions is, what's your objective? And they have been changing the interface. So if you created GA4 a year or two ago, you might not have gone through the same process. Then you'll just see life cycle reports. But if you have recently created GA4 reports, then it asks you objectives. Those objectives turn into collections. So they show you these collections based on those objectives that you pick. If you pick generate leads, that's what you will see. If you pick drive online sales, this is the collection you'll see. So everybody can have a different navigation in GA4. That's one of the common questions I get. My interface does not look like the guy next to me or somebody else. And this is the reason. Because they have different objectives, they pick different objectives, or they have customized their whole navigation system, navigation menu here. So to create a new report, click on create a new report. There are two reports that you can create. You can create an overview report or detailed report. If you're not familiar with overview reports or detailed reports, then reach out to me and I'll give you a video to show you the difference. So click on detailed report. That provides you the details here. You can start from blank or you can start from one of these templates. So let's click here. And let it load. And here is your default reports that get created. You can change a bunch of things on this report by clicking in your right-hand panel. You have a line chart here. You can pick another chart, scatter plot, pie chart, etc. You can also change the dimensions and metrics here. So that's another feature. Those who do not know, please note this, that you can customize the reports. Any standard report, you can customize them by picking the metrics and dimensions that you want. One of the common things that we do all the time is people want bounce rate. There is bounce rate in GA4. I do not know where it stands today because they keep changing, but there is a metric called bounce rate, last I checked. You can pick that metrics and put it right here on your report, and you'll have bounce rate. The definition of bounce rate in GA4 is different than how it was in Universal Analytics. So keep that in mind. You can't compare the numbers. Actually, you cannot compare any of these numbers. There will be differences. Yesterday, I wrote to somebody, I wrote a blog post on this one, the difference, why you'll see difference in session duration, time on page, etc. So every metric is different. The differences are because the way GA4 and UA collect data and process data. But so that's another feature. If you want, you can customize any report. Once you're done, click on save, and you can save this as a new report, or you can even save an existing report. Also overwrite the existing report. Provide a name for your report, and if you want, then provide a description, and then click on save. Now report is saved, and it will show up in your library. So once the report is in the library, you can put them in any collection that you want. So let's say I want to put it here. Why is it not clicking? Oh, it's loading. It takes time. So here you have, this is the interface that you'll see. Here you have all the topics, etc. You can create a new topic and pull the reports from your right-hand side into left-hand side. This to me is kind of a little odd as well. I would expect from picking from left to right rather than from right to left, but that's the way interface is. And you give your topic a name. Here you create the topic. And then now you can drop your overview report or detailed report. So we're going to drop a detailed report here. Go and search for that report, or you can pick it from detailed report right here. And once you find the report that you need, go ahead and drag it. And that's it. Now go ahead and save to current collection, or you can create a new collection. Once that's done, your report will start to show in that collection. So we added in the life cycle collection, we added a topic called audience, and within that audience is where we added the report. So that's the structure: collection, topic, reports. Here, clicking on the report will show you the report. Here it is. So that way you can have customized navigation. You can have the reports that you want for your audience. Very, very powerful tool. Library allows you to give the reports that you want for your audience. That's number one complaint that I hear about GA4 is they don't have all these reports. Well, they have a way of creating these reports. All you have to do is figure out how to create those reports, how to put them in the right collection for your audience. Definitely the way you're going to name these collections and topics is going to be based on your business objective, your audience, etc. So keep that in mind. Right. So next benefit, as you saw, simplified asset management. You have everything in one place. There is consistency and accuracy because it's controlled in one central place. So not people are not going to have different names and stuff. Just keep it, manage it there. Saves you time. You don't have to reinvent and create explores, all that stuff, because the report is there. It'll save time. As your company scales or as your needs scale, it's there, one central place, and then helps with collaboration. Next feature is data deletion feature. Data deletion request in GA4 allows you to delete text by event parameters, user properties, etc. Now, why this makes sense? There are so many privacy laws that are happening at local level, international level, country level. You pick it. There are different laws. Sometimes the data that you collect, that you might have collected a year ago, might not be legal anymore, and you want to delete that data. So in that scenario, you can go and do the data deletions. Sometimes implementation mistakes are made. You start to collect PII data that you're not supposed to. Sometimes it might be just somebody made a mistake and named something in a strange way, and you want to delete it so that you can start fresh, etc. Whatever the reason is, there's several reasons for why this is related, why you need it. The biggest one is definitely around data privacy and users' privacy, etc. So that's going to become big and big. Europe, particularly, it is. If I don't know how many of you are from Europe, but it's already big there. And those who don't want to use GA4, I have another video that I talked about where you don't have to use GA4. There are other tools out there, free as well, that you can use. Now, this one, I am going to actually go to my site to show you, because this demo, I don't think it works properly, but let's try it. So here, I'm going to click on admin, go find in here your data deletion request, and click on it. And then you click right here, I think the demo stops. So let me just go and see if I can share my screen, the other one that I have. Now I've lost the mouse here. Okay, here it is. Data deletion request. You schedule data deletion. and you pick what data you want to delete. There are several options here. Delete all parameters on all events. So every parameter that you're collecting will be gone. Delete all register parameter on selected events. So you can pick and select the events, the dates when you want to delete them, and then you pick the events that you want, and then their parameters that all these events that you want to delete them. So you can pick multiple here. You can also pick delete selected parameter on all events. So here you pick the list of parameters, and you also have registered parameters as well as user properties. Select the user properties that you want to delete. So a great way to delete anything that you do not want, have made a mistake, or privacy or your local law does not allow you to do that. I believe this feature is going to get better because there is a lot of things that they might need to change. For example, I might want to collect user properties in US, but maybe not in Europe. So if a person is from Europe, I do not want to collect that information. So they'll have to make many changes here so you can identify exactly the users that you want. Maybe it'll also even go to like for this particular user, I don't want to collect the data. However, for everybody else, we need to collect that data. Data deletion impact can also, the data will still be there. It'll be data deleted. So it's still counted in your reports, but it will be marked as data deleted in your reports. Okay. Next feature, and maybe I should have just put this in my screen that I was sharing. Stop sharing and now share your screen. Go back to unexplored features. Okay. Benefits, as I mentioned before, protection of user privacy, big one, right? That is why this feature exists. One of the features of GA4 was to have users' privacy in mind. GA4 uses machine learning to fill the gaps. Even if the data is deleted on your collection servers and on your reports, there is still GA4 can still fill the gaps using machine learning. They won't use any PII or that information, but they can fill those gaps. If complete information is gone, they can still fill that gap using all the data they have and the behavioral data they have and the other data sources. So encouragement of ethical data collection and elimination of unwanted data. As I mentioned, if something is collected but you do not need it, or you made a mistake, you can get rid of it. So all this, all in all, the result is the confidence in data collection. This is a feature not many people are using, not many people are aware of, but you should pay attention to, and this helps you clean out anything that you do not want in your properties. GA4 also has limitations on how much data it can collect, the number of parameters it can collect, etc. So this will help you eliminate those unwanted things as well. Next lesser known feature is User Explorer Report. In User Explorer Report, it provides you detailed user level data on user interactions. So this is a great one. And again, I am going to actually, let's see if I can go ahead and use another tab here. That way I don't have to switch back and forth. You guys can still see it's GA4 is loading, right? See it or no?
Not yet, Anil. We can see the lesser known feature number 4.
Okay. Now
We can see.
Okay. So in Explore, you have a User Explorer report. I assume everybody knows this User Explorer report. If not, I can show you how to create one. But there is, let's go in Explore and click here to find User Explorer. That allows you to explore the users. It allows you to see all the users that are on your site. So here are all the cookies or user IDs for those users. And once you identify, like say, the IDs, that's the only thing that you can pass as far as PII is concerned. You are not going to be able to pass their name, email, etc. But you need to have a backend system to know, hey, user ID 597.63, this belongs to this user. You can do some of this in BigQuery. SQL Server, Oracle, Excel sheets, whichever you desire. If you're not, actually, I'm going to bring another point. If you're not familiar with BigQuery, I highly recommend if you're going to be a digital analyst, not a digital marketer, digital analyst, you should learn SQL BigQuery. I conduct workshops, and I've been conducting workshops for 3+ years now. Ever since BigQuery became part of GA4, I've been conducting these workshops. SQL workshops I used to conduct before that as well. But it's very, very critical. Believe me, if you do not do it, then you'll say, why did ChatGPT take my job? Or took my AI took my job. Believe me, you have to learn. Sure, AI can write SQL, but it'll help you develop the mindset. It'll help you learn how the data is organized. And that's the key there. Anyway, so let's say if I identify this user and I want to look at what this user did, I can click on this user. That opens up another screen that shows me the details of the activities this user did. Here you can see that particular user. If I knew this is Anil Batra, Anil is from Leeds, UK. Well, this is not me, but let's say somebody from Leeds, UK, whoever that person is, they had 515 events on my site. Now, if I were collecting revenue, you can see how much revenue they're generating, how many transactions that person had, user engagement, course, and funnel views, which is my goal, how many of those they did. So you can get some details about that user. Here is a snapshot of events that that person did. This is really, really powerful to know, particularly for debugging. You can also debug with that, saying, I know this person, that's their ID, and I want to know what activity they did on my site, because that person is saying their transaction wasn't captured and this is what they did. You can come here and see. You also have all these events in a sequence, so you can see which date the events were done. Okay, it helps you understand users at a different level. Individually, you can see them. You can learn a lot about their behavior. Hey, this person started with a session here, and then they did this and this, and all the activities are listed here. Another feature that is hidden here, now this is a feature on top of feature, is let's say I want to create a segment of all the users who did session start and viewed a page view. Not a very great session. Let's say all the users who did a button click and also did a course and funnel view, right? This order. Once you select these, you can go and click on create segment. Now those conditions are already added for you. Great way to quickly add segments. And I'm going to throw in another feature, because anytime I come in, I keep throwing features after features that you can use. When you're creating a segment, you can also build an audience right from there, and also an audience trigger. So here you see, you started from User Explorer, figured out the sequence of events that you want, created a segment, created an audience trigger. These things are all connected. Now, why would you do that? Depends on how you think about the problem. And that's what I said. In my programs, I teach about thinking more than doing. Randomly, you can do a bunch of stuff in GA4, but there has to be a reason. When my students tell me like, hey, I'm doing this, I'm like, why are you doing this? There are so many GTM courses telling you recipe of this and that. I'm like, no, most of the people do not need these recipes. They're wasting their time. So keep in mind, why are you doing something is more important than doing that. So that's how you create, you look at this feature. Okay, moving along. This feature allows you to, as you saw, it's great for marketing teams, data analysts, UX designers to see how people are navigating, what they're doing, because there is a sequence of events. They can figure out and create a segment of those users who look similar to that user. And great for persona building. Hey, here is a persona. Let's say we take a person, let them do their activity on the site, and then we decide this is the type of people that we are targeting. Let's create an audience group out of that so that we can learn more about them, so that we can make them targeted advertising, and we can activate all these insights that we're getting, etc. So great for e-commerce. Definitely e-commerce will learn a lot how people purchase their products, how many clicks does it take for them before they make a purchase, how many products they look at before they make a purchase, etc. Great feature. Yeah, I already went through the demo here. So in-depth user analysis, personalization opportunities, conversion optimization, user behavior, UX improvement. If you're not using this feature, start using it right away. You'll learn a lot. Now, I'm not saying go randomly figure out and look at every user, but figure out a user that you want to look at, and because that's your ideal customer, look at their behavior, and that'll help you understand how your users, intended users, will use the site, what changes you need to make on your site. Okay. Next one is funnel exploration report. Funnel exploration. In GA4, again, one of the complaints is we do not have reports. We do not have funnel report. Here you can create a funnel report. The way you do that is you go back into Google Analytics, and let's say I create an Explore. Assuming everybody knows Explore. If not, and your title is a digital analyst or you work as a digital analyst, spend time here. You will learn a lot. Okay, so let's say if I create a funnel exploration report. Now, this funnel exploration, the way that GA4 has built, doesn't make much sense. Definitely, you'll add your own steps to the funnel. I'm not going to go through those steps, but here, you have product ad, shopping cart ad, whatever, start, etc. Well, once you have those funnel, you can click on this button right here to create a new report, funnel exploration report, and you add your description and you save it. Now this report will be available in your library. And we've gone through library before. Once the report is there, you can go ahead and add it to any collection that you want. So for example, if I want to add it in this collection, I'm going to just go add in this collection. We went through this process right here, and you can just pick the report, save it, and you'll be done. So that's how you create funnel exploration report as well. Funnel exploration report. Okay, this is great for data analyst. Again, everything is great for data analyst. If your job is digital analyst, data analyst, marketing analyst, web analyst, whatever analyst, you need to know these features. There are many more hidden features. I mean, when I was going through this list, I said, well, I can add another 15 more. And I think I've covered more than 5 in this. In order to make sure that you guys can we can cover this in time, I went quickly through them, but I'm happy to take questions after this. So we've gone through this one. Benefits of turning a funnel, as you saw, time saving. You don't have to go create Explore every time. It's there. It's a standardized reporting. Everybody can use it. It's a centralized knowledge repository, right? That's your library. Helps with collaboration, and obviously, again, we come back to data-driven decision making. Very, very critical. If you have been implementing GA4, if you have been using GTM, I highly recommend that you stop and think, why are you doing this? If it doesn't add value to any of your stakeholders, do not do it. Even though it might sound tempting, hey, we can look at how many people did X, how many people clicked here. That's not the purpose of digital analytics. The purpose is to make decisions. If you go back to go back and look at the definition of digital analytics, it's to make those decisions to help the business. Scrolling, sure, it's by default, it's there. Will it help? Maybe not. The way it's implemented in GA4 by default, it won't help anything. Form tracking, all that, just pick anything. Any of these features that I showed you today, you have to think, does it make sense for me? Okay, next feature is limiting BigQuery export via GA4. I have told you guys before, BigQuery is something that you should learn. Many people don't know what BigQuery is. BigQuery is a data warehousing solution. Now, what is a data warehousing solution? It's basically a database that that has the data, that can store the data for reporting purposes. There is the difference between database, data warehouse, data lake, etc. There are subtle differences here. Let's talk about database and data warehouse. Database generally are transactional databases. I started my career in databases. When I was a database guy reporting, and I was a software engineer. I was doing a bunch of stuff, and I still do a bunch of stuff. My whole thing is I keep losing interest in things that I cover, and then I move on to the next things. But that's when when I started my career, we were doing reporting. And when I first came across the web log files, we built a website. This is back. Well, many of you were probably not even born at that time when I was doing this. We basically were taking the raw log files, which is the server log files, and putting them in the data warehouse for reporting purposes. When we built reports on top of that, my job was I was working as a developer. I was working as the PM on that thing, and we're driving this. That's how I got exposed to this whole analytics, which caught my interest, and I've been doing in different phases there. The way now GA4 is going, it's back to where we started from. It's kind of funny. We were putting raw data in database and running reports on top of that. Today, GA4 has gone full circle and come back to that thing again and saying, put your raw data in database and run your reporting on top of that. People always say, and this bugs me, a lot of experts will say, use BigQuery. Oh, you can't do it? Use BigQuery. Using BigQuery does not mean you fire up a report and it's there. BigQuery is a database system, not a reporting. You have to build reports on top of that. You have to build analysis on top of that, processing on top of that. There are real skills that are required rather than just saying it's drag drop here. So we're going full blown here. When we were doing personalization 17 years ago, recommendations 17 years ago. Now people talk about this. Look at my blog post in 2006. I was writing about personalization. Nobody was talking about personalization back then. So we're going there, and it's very exciting time, because this is where really your skills as an analyst will shine. You will be able to bring deeper insights rather than what GA4 provides. However, BigQuery will come at a cost. It's free to an extent, but more data you send it to it, more you're going to have storage cost as well as processing cost. So you'll continue to have these costs that will add up. In order to save that cost, so let me show you. I'm assuming people know how to send the data to BigQuery, but in order to send the data to BigQuery, you simply click on admin. And again, I have a video on that. I have a full course on BigQuery as well, those who want to learn from me and do it. Okay, so here you go into BigQuery links, and you add a link to this link will be enabled for you. You click on that link and you pick your BigQuery project, and there you go. It'll set up. It'll send every single thing that's happening on your website to the BigQuery in the streaming format. That means it's real time if you pick streaming. Streaming is only available for paid accounts, but I've been running this on several accounts and only paid like 1 cent a month or 2 cents a month is all I pay. It's very, very minimal. So most of you can get started and start learning without any cost. When this starts to send the data, this also enables you to do real-time debugging. We have built e-commerce reports using that, as well as debug any implementation issues. Clients will see 2-page views. Why are they happening? GTM doesn't show you that. Real-time doesn't show you that. The only way to find out is go into BigQuery, write the query, and figure out, hey, one is coming from here, and immediately another one is fired from here, and you can figure those out. Now, definitely you need the skills to write SQL, know the structure of the data, etc. SQL has been there for 40 plus years, 50 years, which is the structured query language for querying the databases. It'll continue to be there for another 50, 100 years, believe me. Once it has passed that limit of being a language by programming language, or not really a programming language, but query language, it'll be there. So skills that you develop with SQL will be there forever, will come in handy for years. I mean, I'm reaping the benefits, something that I learned early in my career. I run these workshops and these courses, they pay me money. Courses are there, I get paid. Whether I'm there or not, I'm on a beach, I still get paid for my skills. So what you can do here is you have these BigQuery links, it sends all the data. However, as I mentioned, it'll cost you. So sorry, I jumped ahead. In order to reduce that cost, you can click on configure and remove any events that you do not want. GA4 by default collects a lot of events: session start, page views, engagement, etc. Some of these events you might not want to send if you have to limit your volume, because there is a limit. You have a 1 million daily limit. Now, I'm not using that much, but let's say if you're a large organization and you are close to it. We have clients who have crossed these limits. For us to make sure that those clients don't exceed these limits, you can specify event by picking them and say exclude these events. So for example, I don't want to include this event. I don't want to include maybe another event, let's say where it is funnel viewer event, text copied event, whatever event those are. Let's say I don't want to include those. In that case, I can just pick here and click on add. Now these events will be excluded. So that it also tells me how much it's going to save me. You can also specify events by name if you do not want to go and pick a list from here. Maybe you have a lot of events here that you do not, this list is very, very long. Some clients, we have a very, very long list. We just go and specify name here. So that's how you limit how much data you are sending to BigQuery. Is everybody familiar with BigQuery? If people want to know BigQuery, I can definitely go and give a glimpse of BigQuery. Let me know in the chat if you want me to go do that. Okay. And I can't emphasize this enough. One of the things I have done, and I've been teaching for 17 plus years now. I've been in the career for more than 17, even though my bio says 17 plus. I have started a company back in 2004, which we sold in, 2007. We sold it in 2008. Then I was leading a lot of leading analytics team for a lot of organizations. And then finally started a few years ago, started Optizent. The whole focus is on teaching and training. So I ran a program at Microsoft for 3 years, teaching how to use data for product development, for marketing, just all around A/B testing, how to take the data and conduct A/B tests. So I ran that for 3 years. That was kind of one of the first clients to sign up for my academy, and so that's what I did. So yeah, I think let me see. I think we covered everything. So for BigQuery, I know I'm very passionate about BigQuery. I spend a lot of time, and I keep doing this. Teacher in me just comes out. So it's benefit of deep insights. Not User Explorer. It's BigQuery. You get deeper insights. You can efficient data processing, cost optimization, enhanced data privacy because you can control and figure out the data. And you can also, once you have these, and replace this with BigQuery, you can have improved query performance and also the scalability of your solution. So again, I think I'll repeat this again and say, if you are going to be an analyst, if you are going to be using GA4, stop and think every event, every user property, every report that you're creating and saying, ask why. I have this framework where I say, why? Why are we doing this? And somebody responds and say, why are we doing why and why? If 3 whys lead you to answer, that's why you're doing something. but always question. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Joe for a surprise feature. So take it away.
Thank you, Anil. Thank you so much for walking all of us through six lesser known features. There is more to come. But personally, my takeaway from your session is to always think about why before going into any reports or even going to GA4 or BigQuery. Uh, Make yourself very clear on why you are doing something that will result into a direct business impact for you. With these new features that you showcased us today, it's personally practical to have your own GA4 interface, and that's why your reports might be totally different from someone else's reports, and
Yeah.
you can customize your GA4, make it your own. And yes,
Yeah.
definitely, part you mentioned about the SQL. So SQL is a definitely a very important skill. If you are not well versed with it, recommend to definitely learn it and get most of BigQuery. Once you have learned SQL, you will feel very proficient on using BigQuery. So yeah, these are my three takeaways from your session. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Yeah. Hopefully, this was useful for everybody. I would love to hear all your feedback. What feature resonated with you? Which one you did not know? Or somebody, I want to see if somebody says, I knew all of these and I use all of these. Then I want to hear how you use them. So, would love to have that kind of conversation.
Sure. Anil, I'll take over the screen for the next feature,
Sure.
which is called exporting your audience through API. So this is very recently launched by Google Analytics 4 team, and it's still in alpha stage. But this feature, what it does is if you have previously worked on Google Analytics, previous version, Universal Analytics, you already know that Google Analytics easily connects with other Google marketing platform tools like DV360 or Google Ads or BigQuery or Search Console. But then when it comes to Google Analytics integration with other tools, like for example, it could be AppsFlyer or Firebase or More Engage, uh, or it could be any of your CRM system or CDP system, or could be a customer experience platforms. People find it generally difficult to export certain set of audience that Anil talked about today and bring that audience into a different tool, right? And what I've seen is mostly people use Excel sheets or CSV files to bring this audience in a very hard manner. Sometimes you have to use BigQuery, and it's a highly manual job, right? So one of my favorite feature is to do this via APIs. So I have a small demo on how you can create this using an API. So I would like to just showcase you very quickly. These are a little technical part of the whole audience export, but whatever audience you have created using audience feature or audience trigger features, you would be able to export these audience in a raw CSV file in an automated fashion. So you can always automate any manual task you are doing in your daily life. So yeah, let's go through it. So the step number one is to authorize the API. So you need to know which APIs are the right ones to use. So if you look at my screen, you would ideally just go to Google Analytics reporting API version 4, then get a read-only access. And all these you can find on Google Developers API console. We will send you the link across. You will need Google Analytics API version 3, and more or less you need edit access and read-only access to your analytics data. And click on Authorize API. So once you click on Authorize API, you need to log in with your Google Analytics ID, provide your details, click on Allow, and which will bring you to this screen. Now, this screen primarily helps you exchange the authorization code for tokens. So if you are a little technical, you will be given two different codes to just call the API in a secure manner. So as soon as you click here, you can see the green part here where you can find the access token as well as refresh token. So these tokens are used by your developers to call the APIs. And then as soon as you use this code and tokens into Postman, you will be able to export your audience through different queries that you can make on your audience list. So this is one small example. Right now, you can export device IDs, user IDs associated with this particular audience group, right? So whatever audience group you select in your API calls, you will be able to export that audience into a CSV format or a JSON format, whatever formats you choose. So this is one of the very important feature when it comes to the integration of Google Analytics with other tools like CRM or CDP systems. So the very well benefits are advanced audience targeting. So if you have a very particular audience which you want to export continuously to your CDP system, you could use these APIs. You could personalize marketing if you have a targeted segment within Google Analytics 4, which is already created. You could send personalized push notifications or SMS through your CDP systems using these APIs. Seamless data integration. So one of the previous pain point of universal analytics was Google Analytics could not integrate really well with other tools, which is what they are trying to solve using audience export APIs. You could do any custom analysis. So once you have these users outside your Google Analytics platform, you could practically bring them to any number of tools, any visualization tools, or any analysis tools like BigQuery, and find out what these users are doing, what are their particular behaviors, or any other attributes you want to analyze. Another way, you could also enrich your CRM data. Like, for example, if you have inactive users within Google Analytics 4, which you export using API, you could easily bring that to your CRM and run a campaign, which I think we were running today for one of our clients, an inactive user campaign, so that you can activate more customers on your website. It's perfectly real time, so it works in real time. As soon as the data is refreshed, you can get that user via API, and which will ultimately help you make a lot of data driven decisions. So this is a perfectly advanced but very useful feature when it comes to integration. So yeah, if you are a beginner, I would suggest you go through the first 6 features and then move on to the APIs, which is a bit technical. Cool. So that brings us to a very interesting section of this webinar, which is questions. And Anil, we do have some questions here, so I'll read them for you. Is that all right for you? We can't hear you, Anil. Just give us a moment. We will.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you perfectly.
Okay, great. Right. I just switched to another microphone here.
No worries, no worries. Okay, so I'll read out the question for you. The first question is, can we add event parameters as well, or only the events are made? So I think this is, probably referring to audience triggers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So at this point, it's only event. So there's no way to add parameters, but that might change. Yeah. And I think it'll be a good addition where you can pick the parameters from that audience group and send it over. Yep. Good question. But yeah, that's a limitation right now.
Right. Number 2 is how to create a report that includes data like user landed on different pages, but converted on a particular page.
Landed on a different page and converted on a different page. So you want basically a user journey. So you want a report like that. So in that scenario, there is a Path Explorer report that you can use. I'm not a big fan of Path Explorer reports because every user comes through a different journey. If you have a predefined journey based on your persona that you're building and saying this is the actions, you can pick those and create maybe like a funnel report for that, or just follow that path. That's the only way you can do it. Again, I would say is if you know how to do SQL and BigQuery, you can do anything you want. You can say people who started this and did this in their first journey and then went to either this or that and then converted here. You can do all sorts of reporting there. In that native GA interface, I don't think there is a way to easily do that other than, like I said, maybe create a funnel or maybe look at the path explorer, follow that path.
Right. Yeah, there seems to be good options.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'll keep pounding this thing, and which I've been saying for years to everybody. Digital analyst should learn SQL. It'll open a lot of job career opportunities. A student of mine 6 years ago, I think 5 or 6 years ago, came to my class. He was running a business like a chiropractor business, not even like anything related to technology, data, anything. He was so far away from it. Stumbled upon the class. He was taking some user experiences class. He stumbled upon my thing. Today, he's a data engineer at a publicly traded company. In 6 years, he told me he quadrupled from where he started. He didn't even believe it. I told him, just learn these things. He didn't believe me. He applied. Within 2 months, he got a first job. And he quadrupled his salary. So I'm saying even if he started like 30,000 US dollar, 35, quadrupling is 140, 150,000 right now, easily making. So I'm sure he makes more. I don't ask people's salaries, but that's the level. He learned SQL, he learned all these things. He started as a marketing analyst and then went into this direction. It opened up lots of doors for him. That's what I said. Learn the skills that market will need 5, 6, 10 years from now, rather than something right now. I mean, those things are applicable today as well as in future. Yeah.
Right.
So BigQuery will give you that answer. So that's a challenge. Go put the data in BigQuery and learn. That's your first report, and see if you can build it.
Right, Anil. Cool. I'll go to the next question now. So someone wants us to go back to feature 5 because they could not see the names. I'll just quickly go back. Feature number 5 that you covered. Yeah. So feature 5 was turning a funnel exploration report exploration into a report.
Yeah. Do you want me to go back to that? Share my screen?
No, I think they just wanted to know the name of the feature.
Okay. Yeah, when you create, and this is only available in funnel exploration. There is another question I saw, which is on the path exploration into library. You cannot do that. Funnel exploration is the only one where you have a little reporting icon. It's like an exit door kind of thing, where you click, and once you click there, it takes your report and builds into a custom report that you can use in your library.
Right. All right. Moving on to the next one, which is there any GA4 is there a really GA4 discrepancy? Because I'm facing it for all of my clients or Google Ads.
When you say discrepancy, yes, there is. The way GA4 collects the data, processes the data is different than how Universal Analytics did. I yesterday wrote a blog post for a client. They were seeing the difference in time on page and engagement time. And previously, I had written the same thing for people who are using unique views in your report and page views or sessions now in other reports. So and also there will be a difference in session count, there will be a difference in user count, etc. So there are differences. I've written posts on those. If you are interested, whoever is asking, just reach out to me and I'll send you the links for that. Or you can just go to optizent.com/blog and read all the blogs that we have. I'm just going to put that link in here for people. So yes, it depends. If there is a huge difference, then you have a problem. If it's like 5%, 7% here and there, not a problem. You can verify your settings. Also keep in mind, GA4 has thresholding. If you're not familiar with thresholding, become familiar with it. That's going to kill a lot of confidence in GA4 reports, the way they handle it. In some cases, I saw 40% difference in one case, not some cases, one case, I saw a 40% difference in page views. That immediately told us there is a problem. We went back and checked their implementation. It was wrong. We fixed it. It should not be 40%. It should only be 5 to 7%, maybe a little bit more. But if you're seeing big differences, there is something wrong with your report. Somebody else has actually posted in our Facebook group today, same thing. And I know what the problem is there. They are basically getting applying thresholding. Thresholding gets applied when you enable Google Signals, as well as if your implementation is wrong. So keep that in mind. It should not be that big of a difference.
Yep. Moving to the next one, which is, can we add custom parameters to screen view event?
Screen view event custom, you mean page views and screen views? Yes, you can. You just have to customize your page view tag, and then you can send any event parameters that you want. If you are using your config tag to send that page view, you can also send parameters right there with field to set. It's basically, it's all it is event parameters for page views.
Yeah.
And config wherever it gets applied. Yeah.
Right. The next one is, is it possible to track all the elements in an e-commerce homepage?
I'm not sure what that question means. If you can provide, whoever asked that question, can you provide more details? All elements on the e-commerce homepage. I mean, if you're asking like, hey, all these different product areas, recommended product list, featured list, on sale items, yes, you can track pretty much everything. The visibility of those, clicks on those, everything can be measured. Again, you have to think about, what am I trying to learn? What will I need? That's the process we go through. And really, the simple structure is, think about, start from business goals. What are you trying to learn? Outline them. This is again, the teacher in me keeps explaining things, and then because I teach, go in details on these things. You have to start from, why am I doing this? What will make it happen? Most of the people jump to implementing, and I say, put the implementation at the very, very last step. Think about why you're doing it. What will you need to get the right answer? Don't right away click on tag manager, start adding stuff.
Right. I would just like to add, Anil, here that e-commerce websites generally come with their own events, where you can set up your e-commerce module, which is specific to e-commerce website, provided by Google Analytics. It is a much more complex way of implementing it, but that is more suitable to e-commerce business. But yes, everything can be tracked. But go back to your why.
Yeah.
The next question is, I made a BigQuery project. I'm only getting event level data. How do I get fields such as different campaigns, sessions, campaigns, total revenue transactions, and how can I create an API?
Okay, so let's break it down. You understand what GA4 is, right? What is GA4? GA4 model is very, very simple. Any analytics tool, think about it. There are users who do certain things, and there are events that happen. Users come to your site, event happens. User exit the site, event happens. User interacts, events happen. So all you're doing is collecting events, and that's what you're getting in BigQuery. Each event then has parameters attached to it. Those are event parameters, so you'll see that in your BigQuery as well. Those parameters contain the information that you need. There are also columns that are assigned to each event. So let's say it's a session start, it'll basically have a column which will, or the parameter which will say the referrer. That's, where the user came from, right? You have session campaigns. you know the campaign name will be tied to that there as well. At the very end, so when you see the campaign, that's the first campaign user came from. And if you look at the very end of your GA BigQuery data, there is a new column called I don't know what it's called, like observed campaign or something like that, observed traffic source, something like that. They keep changing stuff. So that is where it contains all the information. You have to, again, once you implemented BigQuery, understand the structure, how the data is organized. Everything is there. Your campaigns, you have the revenue, transactions. You're not going to get totals. It's event level information, user level information. You're not going to get totals. That's why you need to learn how to write SQL queries to get those done. And once you understand how to organize, how to aggregate, how to do this, you will be able to do a lot more there. Everything is there. Now, I put that link in here for BigQuery course. Come join me. And if you want to learn from me and master, and in 1 year, I can guarantee you your career will be on a different trajectory, then join my implementation program and my membership, where I teach and I work with every student there. How do I create an API? Are you asking for an API? That's a question, I think, for Jyoth, for you, not for the BigQuery. But if it's a BigQuery, there is also an API concept in BigQuery to take the data out from BigQuery, to bring the other data sources, etc. But I don't think that's the question you're asking, because I didn't cover those. So maybe it's a Jyoth, your question.
Yeah. So let me take it up. So when it comes to creating an API, you have few options. Either uh, you can use by default API endpoints that Google Analytics has provided to fetch data from Google Analytics 4. But if you want to create your own endpoints or data points, which can be queried as an API, you will either need to use your own Python server, Python code which hosts on a server, exposes an endpoint, or you could use ready-made services like Google Cloud Functions. Firebase has a free limit, free version of Cloud Functions which you could try to utilize and see for yourself like how easy it is to create an API using Cloud Functions. So yeah, uh, that I hope answers your question. If you have further questions, you can always write back to us. We will both share your our email address to you. Uh, Anil, moving to the next question for you. Uh, in order to have all the data that we have when connecting GA4 to Looker Studio, do we need to create a custom table with a query containing all the data that we need to see in Looker Studio dashboards?
So you don't have to create custom table or anything if you just want to connect to the base table. Now, where it becomes tricky is you are going to create some custom data sets, custom aggregations. And that's where you will need to hook them up to that table or that query, whatever you write. Also, if you want to limit certain things, you don't want to scan the whole tables. That's when if you're going to be eating up a lot of bandwidth, then you might want to think and narrow down that data set into a view. In that case, you will have to make a different table or view or whatever. So there will be some things that you learn if you're just learning SQL and just learning how to connect to BigQuery. To connecting BigQuery directly in Looker Studio does not do much. I mean, it's the same thing. You go from, unless you're facing some limits within GA4 interface, then you'll go to BigQuery. But really, the power comes in when you can aggregate the data. In that scenario, you will be connecting to either a view or a temporary table or a permanent table, etc. Like we do some aggregations for clients, and we put those aggregations in a separate table. And then they connect to that table to pull that information rather than scanning the table every time. Right. I hope that answers your questions. Yeah.
Yes. So moving to the next ones, there are a few questions on the discrepancy. So some people have reported discrepancies in GA4 and BigQuery. So whatever data is exported from GA4
Yeah.
to BigQuery, there might be a discrepancy. And if there is a real, and there is another question, which is on to what extent we can resolve discrepancies, if there are any, on between different tools.
Yeah, so you are going to see the discrepancies. So let me go back to explain how, or I didn't explain this, but let me go back and explain how these reports work. The reports that you see, there are different data sources. The reports that you see in GA4 are aggregated by Google. So there is an aggregation that happens on the raw data to show you those reports. They apply thresholding, they apply certain limits to the underlying tables. So what you see there is based on those aggregated tables. What you see in BigQuery is unfiltered, unaggregated kind of data, right? It's raw data. Assuming you are under 1 million limits. Even if you go over a million hits limit, it's still million events limits, still there unless you consistently exceed those. So the differences are going to be there. You're never going to be able to match them. Unless you're a small site, in that scenario, you will be able to match them. What you need to do is you need to understand what web analytics is and what it's not. Web analytics tools are not accounting softwares. So you cannot get them to penny or paisa or whatever your currency is. You need to think about percentages and directional improvements. So it's never, if you tell me you got 1,000 visits today, is it really 1,000 or is it 1,010 or is it 1,090 or is it 967 and whatever? There could be discrepancies there. The way cookies work, the way browsers work, the way firewalls work, all these things can cause issues. So it's never an accurate number. This is again I teach in my classes, which is web analytics is not accurate, but it's precise. Precise means it'll always hit at the same place. It might not hit the bullseye, but if it goes 5 inches wide, it might just go 5 inches wide every time. And that's what you have to think. Is the directional improvement? Percentage ratios is what you need to think of. Similarly, if there is a discrepancy, 5%, 10%, leave it. Explain it, saying these are two different data sources. There is a 5% discrepancy. Maybe pick a day and find those differences and just set that in your, make sure your stakeholders are aware of those and move on. And always check, we are 5% up from yesterday, 30% up from last week, something like that. That's how you need to report your numbers, not raw numbers. I hope that answers the question. There will always be difference. You put Google Analytics 4, there is a difference. You put Google Analytics, Pivot Pro, that's another tool that I teach, or Adobe Analytics. You pick any of these tools, the numbers are going to be different. Yep.
Right, Anil. The next question is interesting. So, have you ever seen issues with GA4 platform while creating reports under Explorer? Like some data appears and some does not.
Say that again. Repeat that question. I was just typing for sending somebody a message. Yeah. Here, somebody was asking a question. So go ahead. Repeat that. Sorry.
Yeah, I'll repeat. So, have you ever seen uh, issues with GA4 platform while creating user Explorer reports? Like some data appears and some does not.
I haven't. Again, I think depending on what you're looking, it should appear. So there is also another, keep in mind, GA4 can correct the data up to 72 hours after the data is collected. So your reports still continue to adjust. So maybe some of the events did not come through yet. That's why they're missing. Even when you look at real-time reports, sometimes you just have to keep waiting and the data won't show up. And all of a sudden, boom, 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 everything starts to show up. So that's by design, how GA4 has designed. And also, I think somebody who knows cloud more than I do can explain these. All this data goes in cloud, and maybe that server sends the data, and this server is collecting something else, and they don't come in time. So maybe there is some delay there. But it should show unless there is some reason for GA to say, I do not want to show. Because GA can do that. If they feel like, hey, something is invading the privacy or something, they might just make that call. Yeah. Another
Right.
question?
Yes. The next one is what is the ideal setting, in your opinion, in terms of thresholding?
Ideal setting, I'm not sure what that means. Thresholding, in my opinion, is the dumbest thing that Google has done, which kills the confidence in data. One of the things is nobody wants to use the data if they've been using that feeling, right? And when you come up with these reports that have thresholding, then you have to explain another thing what this thresholding is. I'm not entirely sure why Google came up with this. They have ulterior motive on this, hidden motive, something they want to do it. Maybe they want people to use BigQuery and send the data over there to overcome these things. And eventually, more people will use it. Eventually, they'll start to make some money, even if it's like $1 here and there from everybody. So so you can use thresholding because there are applications of thresholding, in Google Ads, etc., and also some data that you get. When you want to count real traffic page views, disable, go to a user identity setting where you're not applying thresholding, which is device only. You get exact count of page views. Now, counting users, you have to apply thresholding to an extent, but you have to look what makes sense for you. Every client is different, every situation is different, so we make a call based on what data we need and why we need it. uh, Thresholding, definitely, I was talking about the percentages earlier. Thresholding even kills that logic out. It's like so random. Having 40% in, as I saw in one case, was very strange. So I cannot make a business decision. Nobody can make a business decision when 40% of your pages are withheld. So every situation will be different. I do not know enough about your business, so I can't comment on it. But think what makes sense. If if your user is not going to be doing cross device journeys, remove, and you do not need the data that's power of this Google Signals. Remove it. Just use device only, and you're done. Yeah, that's thresholding. Just I don't like thresholding. It's there.
Right. Right. The next one, let me go to the last question. After connecting BigQuery, some of the data does not pop up and shows null values in the BigQuery, while in GA4 the data is proper in the Explorer report.
Okay, are you looking at the streaming data or are you looking at the daily data? There is a difference in streaming. Some numbers are calculated only available in the daily. So the way BigQuery works is when you connect and you have, let's say, it's a paid version where you have given credit card. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're paying for it, but your credit card is on the file. In that case, you can enable streaming. Streaming is real time. Some of the numbers get calculated at the end of the day. And in that scenario, they are rolled into a daily report at the end of the day. And when I say end of the day, it could be 6, 7 hours later, even. That number should not show you null. If they are showing you null, there is something else wrong. They should actually show you whatever you see in your reports should actually be there in those reports. So if you want to just reach out to me and I can take a quick look at it.
Anil, I
Okay.
have one more question for you. Out of these six features you covered, which one is your favorite?
I think I made it very clear. BigQuery is my one of, well, not the feature, the integration before that is one of my favorite. Now it depends on what your use is. For most of the people, if they don't want to go to advanced level, let's say they don't want to go to BigQuery, they
Right.
don't want to look at individual users, library is where you start from.
Hmm.
Organize something for your stakeholders in a way that makes sense for them. GA4 navigation is messed up. People will say, oh, I see that report here, I see that report. Clean that up first. That's your step number one. Clean it. And then because creating audience is another level, right? Sending data to BigQuery is another level. but library is something so simple, easy to get started with. So again, I don't have like favorite. Favorite depends on the situation and who I'm dealing with. Because we work
Right.
with clients, people who have no clue about GA4 to clients who actually are using data to make business decisions. For them, we go into BigQuery and audience. People who have no clue and are lost in GA4 interface library is where we start from. So
Right.
it depends on the situation.
Right. Understand. And with this, we have come to an end of this webinar. Thank you so much, Anil, for walking all of us through this really expert, lesser known GA4 features. Hope to see more content from you as well in future webinars. And Tagmate will bring you more such learning content to you. So stay tuned. Thank you so much, Anil. Thank you so much to all our joiners, some people who joined, ask questions, and make it a very interactive webinar. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you for having me. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed and learned a lot. I would love to hear your feedback and just send me email. I put my email address there as well. Not going to be answering every single thing, but I'll point you into the right direction. So, okay.
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.